Downtown's iconic sixth-floor museum is rounding out a special exhibition that runs through February 19th on the 7th floor, Mourning a President. It's part of how the museum that's been open for nearly 30 years in Dealey Plaza is constantly engaging the thousands who come from all over to remember the life, legacy, and assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
One aspect that we had never covered in exhibit form is that funeral, that weekend of the assassination, and so that was something that we did want to touch on and expand in greater detail. After our visitors sort of absorbed the story of the assassination downstairs, this exhibit, probably more than any other that we've had here, allows that moment of quiet reflection, because after the tragedy of the assassination comes the inevitability of the funeral in Washington. And this is an opportunity to look at these giant photographic prints and look at original artifacts, and of course that amazing flag that flew over the Senate wing of the Capitol. The funeral for President Kennedy was watched by people around the world, and more than 800,000 people lined the route in D.C. to see it firsthand. And what people tend to take away from that experience are these snapshot moments that have now become ingrained in the collective consciousness. You have the procession, the caisson being pulled by the 6 white horses. You have Blackjack, the riderless horse, being led by the Army private. You have, of course, John Jr. saluting his father's casket on what was his 3rd birthday. These images really visually tell the entire story of the funeral, but there's so much more to it, so much planning that took place in a very compressed amount of time. This idea that Mrs. Kennedy had, for example, to model the funeral on what Abraham Lincoln had in 1865 following his assassination. In the days before the internet, in the days before you could do Google searches and things like that, they had to dispatch historians to the Library of Congress and quickly compile all this material and put it all together in something that flowed with a great deal of respect and dignity. We put together a little area for communication so that people could talk amongst themselves. They could record and articulate their reflections, what this moment in time and what the American flag means to them. And it's been very interesting to see the responses that we've received from people. We also have an active research center here at the museum on the ground floor of the Texas School Book Depository, and students, teachers, researchers, historians, they can come and access all of our collections materials firsthand, watch oral histories, and browse thousands of photographs in our collection.
Mourning a President runs through February 19th. More at jfk.org. And you can find out more about what's going on around downtown at downtowndallas.com.